So welcome to Westchester University. My name is Sarah Smith, and I'm the Associate Director of Admissions and Special Events. And I'm joined by some of our university ambassadors who I will give an opportunity to introduce themselves a little bit later this evening. And so what I wanted to do was be able to talk with you about the application process, about admissions at Westchester University. And I will also encourage you, please feel free to use the chat feature if you have questions that you'd like to ask. If you're comfortable and want to unmute yourself to ask questions, that is completely fine by me and appropriate. So do whatever you are most comfortable with. However, before we get started and I bring up our presentation here, could I have our students who are in the room here today just let me know what grade you are in currently, because that will help me as I talk about admissions, and I can gear things a little bit more strategically depending on what grade you are currently in. So you can use the chat or you can say it out loud. That is fine either way. So just let me know what grade you are in so that I can move forward appropriately. We have a junior. So what I'm going to do then is share my screen with you. Okay, so we have two juniors here. Can you all see the PowerPoint presentation here? Perfect. Okay. So then because you're both juniors, what I'm going to do is talk very specifically about the things that you would hear from if you came to campus right now for a tour, because you are at an exciting time where you are going to be going through this process, hopefully at Westchester shortly. And so I understand that you are siblings of somebody who is either currently attending Westchester or who has, and so there may be some things that are familiar here, but I'm hoping that this evening you will hear some things that are new or different. And please, if you have questions, like I said, just go ahead and use that chat feature or unmute yourself and we'll go from there. So you all are very familiar, I'm sure, with where Westchester University is and perhaps even the town. But I will take some time to highlight when you think about Westchester and where we're located, we're in a really great place. Some of you, and please feel free to also in that chat, if you are thinking of a particular major or a couple of things, you can go ahead and put that in there as well. But depending on what you're thinking about pursuing, you may want to do some out of classroom experiences. So whether that is an internship or maybe you're interested in teaching, and so you have that student teaching opportunity, Westchester's in a really great location for connecting you with those out of classroom experiences. And then when you look at the downtown area, we have some partnerships with local businesses, and I'll talk about those in a little bit here. But Westchester's an excellent place to look at pursuing your education further, and you'll be able to hear firsthand from students who are currently doing that at Westchester University. And so when you think about the numbers, you may be familiar with the fact that we're a larger university. And so one of the things that I like to share with students like yourselves is that, yes, we're a large institution and we're going to have opportunities and provide you access to resources like a larger university, but we're keeping our classroom fairly small. And so we have, you can see here, a 19-to-1 student to faculty ratio. 25 to 35 is an average class size at Westchester. And that may be very similar to what you are experiencing in your high school settings. And so what that means is that you are able to get to know your faculty members and they're able to get to know you. So, Zoom classrooms aside, right, because that is how we've been doing things for a better portion of the past year. When we're in person, you're able to really get to know faculty and to ask questions. We have no teaching assistants. We have no graduate students that are teaching courses. So it's faculty that are teaching all of the courses at Westchester University. So we pride ourselves on that, especially for being as large of a university as we are. To have that connection with faculty, I think, is really important and unique. When you think about pursuing a major, Westchester University has a lot of different options. And so we have over 90 different undergraduate degree programs. And all 90 of those programs are going to fit into one of 6 academic colleges or schools. And so what I'll do is just move kind of quickly through the different colleges and schools and share a little bit about each one of those. And then we'll walk into student life and some things there. So the first of our 6 college, actually, they're all on the screen there. So you can see arts and humanities, business and public management, health sciences, education and social work, sciences and mathematics, our university college, and then our Wells School of Music there. So first up, we have our College of Arts and Humanities. And so perhaps you have experienced some of the things that are coming out of our College of Arts and Humanities, whether it's a show or you visited the art gallery. We have lots of hands-on learning opportunities for students at Westchester, and certainly in the College of Arts and Humanities. There are students who are showcasing their art in the galleries. We have our theater department and dance. So there are different productions that are being put on through our students in this particular college. And then as you think about our College of Business and Public Management, the building that you're looking at here is fairly new. It's about 3-4 years old at this point, but it is one of our newest buildings on campus, and is actually soon to be ousted as the newest building when our Commons is finished. And so the Commons is something we're excited about. There will be classroom space there. There will be student spaces. There'll be some large group spaces, dining spaces. So students, I'm sure you're excited when that is going to be finished and that construction will be clearing up. But that'll be something that, if you do end up deciding to go to Westchester, will be open when you come to campus to attend classes. So again, back to this building. So this is the home of our College of Business and Public Management, and we are AACSB accredited. So that is the highest business accreditation that a school can receive, and we have that at Westchester University. And no matter what program you are studying, and no matter which college within the university you're attending, we really do encourage you to participate in those out-of-classroom experiences. So internships, for example, you can see on the screen some of the places that our students have gone, and some may be familiar to you. And so that's something that, we're going to encourage. Either you may have a place or a connection that you want to go, and we certainly support that. But you might be thinking that you want to participate in something, you're just not exactly sure what that is. And so you can utilize connections that our faculty have, and they can help to pair you or get you situated with an internship. So again, no matter what program you're pursuing, we do encourage you to participate in those out-of-classroom experiences. So next up, we have our College of Education and Social Work. And like many state system universities, our roots are in education. And so we have a lot of students who still come to Westchester University to pursue education, even though we have since branched out and offer many, many other programs. But we have students who are doing student teaching in over 60 different school districts and surrounding areas. You are getting the opportunity to have different kinds of experiences. So you may be student teaching in a large school or a small school, rural or suburban. You may be at a private school, you might be at a public school. So you're really, like I said, getting opportunities to experience different kinds of settings. And then we also offer our bachelor's in social work. And so social work is part of the College of Education and Social Work, as its name says here. And so we have students who are also going on to pursue master's work in some of these fields, but education continues to be something that a lot of students look to attend Westchester to pursue. So next we have our College of Health Sciences, and you can see some of our students who are working with our in the nursing sim lab. And so the College of Health Sciences, I think, tends to be an area where we think very obviously about hands-on opportunities. And I know you'll get sick of hearing me say hands-on, I think, because I say it a lot, but those are the kinds of opportunities that you're getting at Westchester. And so whether it's the athletic training facilities or the nutrition lab that our students are using, and like I said, that nursing simulation lab, that's a safe space for our students to be able to hone their skills. So if they're out in the field and doing clinical rotations and their clinical instructors come back to our professors and say, students need to work on this particular thing, they can do it in a safe setting with those simulation lab versus trying it for the first time, perhaps on you or I, if we were going, to wherever they were working. And then our speech and hearing clinic that's on campus is different in the fact that it is not simulated. Nothing about that is simulated for our students. So it's a working speech and hearing clinic that is serving our community, and our Westchester students are able to work in there and get opportunities working with the community in an area that relates to their field. So our nursing students are currently taking those upper level courses in Exton, which is not too terribly far, and we are running shuttles there. However, we will be coming back to campus We were slated to come back in the spring of 2021, and the pandemic had some other ideas there. So that has been adjusted slightly. But once those renovations are done, we'll be back on campus very shortly. And then our College of Sciences and Mathematics. This is home to the nation's first pharmaceutical product development program. We have biomedical engineering, which just started to accept students in the fall of 2019. So we've been excited about that particular program. And we have our pre-med program as well. So you can see here that over 95% of students that are going through that pre-med program are being placed into medical schools. So they're getting the support of our pre-med committee that is walking them through that process of going to medical school. So lots of other programs, but those are a few we'd like to highlight in that particular college. And then we have our Wells School of Music. So for students who might be interested in pursuing music, we have a host of different options there, whether it's education or performance or theory and composition. And we do have an audition process for our students who are pursuing music. We are an all Steinway school. A fun fact about the building that you're looking at, the portion that is towards the left-hand side of the picture, you can sort of see the curves of the building, and it is shaped like a grand piano from the sky there. So that's fun. And our marching band, which you may have heard of, has received many awards and performed at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parades. And so you're also able to participate in those activities that are music related, even if you aren't pursuing a degree in music. And then last, we have University College. And so for students who are really unsure about what they might want to pursue, this is a good place for you to begin your academic career at Westchester, because about a third of our students who come in each year as first-year students don't know exactly what they want to pursue. And so they're coming in through exploratory studies or an undeclared. And so you still get an academic advisor, just like that student who's declared their program of study. But you are starting to take those general education courses, maths, history, English, science. You're working towards degree completion. And then by the end of the second year, you do have to declare a major officially. So we have supports in place to help direct you to where your passions may lie, but you do have that opportunity to kind of have some breathing room. You don't have to make a choice right away. And if you choose not to declare a major right away when you're applying, it doesn't mean that you set yourself up for this 7-year graduation plan, because again, you're working towards degree completion by fulfilling general education requirements. So are there any questions before I move forward and talk a little bit about student life? Okay. Again, feel free to use the chat there. So some of the other opportunities that you have at Westchester studying abroad, and perhaps you have a sibling who studied abroad. So we're excited to be able to get that program back up and running once we are able. But you can see that we have over 670 different options. And Westchester offers the opportunity to study abroad in the fall, to study abroad in the spring for a typical semester. But then you also are able to study abroad for a month in the summer, as well as for 1 week during a faculty-led trip over spring break. So those are different opportunities, and so no matter what major you're pursuing, you can probably fit in spending some time abroad. We also have an honors college at the university where there's a focus on community service and leadership. So we have students who may be invited to join the honors college. And so there's special housing that you might be living in, and there is an interview process here. So if you are interested, I can certainly point you in the direction of the honors college. And I'm not sure if we have any ambassadors here that are part of the honors college, but we can talk to you a little bit more about that if there is some interest. And then research. So depending on funding in different departments, there certainly might be the opportunity to participate in research. And you may leave Westchester having been published, you may present at conferences, and especially with having to be virtual over this past year, it's been an opportunity for students to be able to participate in some things that maybe they wouldn't have been able to travel to in the past. And so it might not be an area of interest for you, but if you are interested, know that that opportunity may present itself while you're at the university. So some of the other resources and things that we have for you. You can see on the screen there are a lot of different things, a lot of different offices. And there's one that I would like to highlight, not because it's more important, but because it's an area in which I think sometimes students are a little bit tentative in seeking out, and that's our LARC, the Learning Assistance and Resource Center. So for some students, we know that as you make that transition from high school into college, that sometimes it's just a little bit more difficult than you thought, and maybe some of that is in building relationships, and maybe it's in academics. And so the LARC is where you can go to get additional assistance. So whether that's tutoring or you're utilizing the writing center, that's something that you are that is included in the cost of your attendance at Westchester. So whether you use it or not, you have access to those resources. So we encourage you as students to seek out those resources from the beginning, because it's a lot easier to work with a tutor and then find that you're doing well and you maybe don't need to keep that tutor than it is to find yourself at midterms, you're thinking, oh, I don't like my grade, I want to get some help, and then maybe it's not as readily available to you because everybody else is having that same thought too. So that LARC, the Learning Assistance and Resource Center, is an area in which we would say don't be tentative, utilize the resources that are being provided out of that office. And then student life. So I'm not sure, if any of you are involved in extracurricular activities currently, but if you are, that's great. And we do like to see, students who are coming to Westchester who are involved in their current high schools and then continuing that involvement at Westchester. So you can see we have over 300 different clubs and organizations, and our ambassadors, I think, will share maybe some of the things that they're involved in, but you name it, we probably have it. And if we don't have it, you can start it. So that's why there's a plus next to these clubs, because every year that I've been working at Westchester, this number changes, and that's a great thing. And it's because students like yourself see a need for something that we don't have, and they start a club and then bring it to Westchester. So there are clubs that are academic in nature, that are honor societies, that are Greek lives, religious organizations, service groups, lots of different areas for connection there. And then we have 24 Division II sports, we have club sports, we have intramural sports. So lots of different ways to connect outside of the classroom. There are different activities that we're sponsoring as a university. We have a theater on campus where we typically show fairly recent releases from the movie theater, usually things that have come out within about the past 3 months or so. And you're able to see those for a discounted rate in our student union. We've done bus trips. So again, lots of out of classroom activities for you there. And then in the bottom right-hand corner, you're going to see a picture of our students who are relaxing on one of our affiliated residence halls. And so you have a couple of different options at Westchester when you think about your living. And so if you're going to live on campus, you have the traditional residence halls, and then you have what we call our affiliated or the university student housing options. And so those traditional residence halls are perhaps what you picture when you think about college in the movies, where you have two of everything: beds, desks, dressers, bookcases. And then you have that restroom at the end of the hall that you're sharing with your peers. You have a resident assistant, an RA on your floor who's there as a resource for you. And then when you think about the affiliated or those suite style housing options, they're a little bit different. So those are actual apartments, and they are anywhere from 2 to 6 people as far as the housing, how many students are housed there. And then the size is also going to vary depending on how many students are in that suite. And so there is a difference in cost, and it's typically about $4,000 per year. And that difference is because of the amenities. So the amenities are different in each of the two housing areas. So one of the nice things about coming to Westchester is, even as a first year student, you get to choose what is best for you. So if you want to be in the affiliated housing, you can make that choice. If you prefer to be in the traditional housing, you can make that choice as well. So those are both open to you as a first year student at Westchester. And then when we talk about some of those partnerships that I mentioned with our town a little bit earlier, they come in the form of dining. So you have dining options on our campus in Lawrence, which That dining facility will move to the Commons once that's open. We have a Starbucks on campus. We have food trucks that are typically open. So you have options that are right here on our campus and conveniently located. But then about 30 businesses in the downtown and surrounding area partner with us through what we call Rambucks. And those are actual dollars that you can choose to add to your ID card. So it's making your Westchester card act sort of like a prepaid gift card. So maybe like a Starbucks card where you've loaded money on that and then you can go and use that. So places like Wings to Go and Rita's Water Ice and Giant and Country Bagel, to name a few. So if you don't want to eat on campus, you want to expand your options a little bit, and you've loaded those Rambucks onto your ID card, you can then use those at our partnering locations. Are there any questions before I move forward into talking about admissions? I'm not seeing any come through. So the admissions process. So you can see on the screen lots of numbers, and these are averages. So as you begin to think about applying to Westchester, this is the average. So average GPA, average SAT and ACT, and we'll come back to all of these things in a couple of moments, but we have students who are coming to Westchester, and there are students who are sitting above these averages, and we have students who are sitting below these averages. So don't think that if you don't look like the numbers on the screen, that Westchester isn't an opportunity that you might be able to have. So this is an average. So like I said, students are coming in above these numbers and below these numbers. So when you think about the process at Westchester, we operate on a modified rolling admissions timeframe. So that means that we have no deadline for when we start taking or stop taking applications. Once the application opens, which is typically August 1st of your senior year, you can go ahead and apply, and we are a Common App exclusive school. So you can fill out that common application, which is convenient because that common application can be utilized at a lot of different schools. So we encourage you as high school seniors to submit your application early. And by early, we mean by Thanksgiving. And while it's not a deadline, it's a good frame of reference as far as when you would want to get things in. Because since we are rolling admissions, it means that we're reading and reviewing decisions on an ongoing basis. So we will read and review and get decisions out to students. And the only way that we stop doing that, or the reason that we would stop doing that, is because the university is full. So we will read and review and get decisions out until majors become full, and ultimately until the university no longer has any spaces. So getting things in by Thanksgiving is a good time frame. Can you do it after that? You absolutely can. Are there students still applying now? There absolutely are. But sometimes we need to ask you for additional information. And so you want to have given yourself enough time to perhaps be asked to submit additional information and feel like you still have time to make a final decision. So there are only a couple of things that we need from you in order to complete your application. I've mentioned the first thing, which is the application. There's also a $45 application fee. And then we will need your official high school transcript sent directly from your counseling office. And so for students who are applying for the fall of 2021, that's where the requirements stop. So this year, we made the SAT and the ACT, so all standardized tests are optional. So students could choose to submit them, and if they did not want to submit them, they did not have to submit them. So this is the first year as part of a pilot program that Westchester has gone test optional. We have not yet made a final decision as to whether the fall of 2022, so for our juniors, that would be the year that you're applying, that fall 2022. We have not yet made a final decision if we will be test optional for that fall semester, but we will let you know as soon as possible. So right now we'll say you might have to submit test scores or you might not have to submit test scores, but we will need the application fee and your standardized test, and your application, or let me back up, your transcript for sure. So transcript, your application, and the $45 application fee. I'm getting all tongue-tied. You'll need those for sure. And then you can choose to submit a writing sample, but you don't have to. And one of the things that I often will tell students is, we don't conduct personal interviews. And so if you're somebody that would want to sit down in front of myself or one of my colleagues for an interview, then you may want to submit a personal statement. So the things that you might share with me in a one-on-one interview can be some of the things that you share in a personal statement. So perhaps you might want to address, maybe there was a little dip in your grade, or maybe there was something outside of the classroom impacting your classroom work. You may want to address that in a personal statement, but it is not a required part of the application process. And from about late October forward, we are starting to get those decisions out to students. So again, August 1st is when the application opens, but we're not starting to notify students of decisions until about mid to late October. Okay. It's also important to remember that while we encourage you to apply early, it doesn't always mean that that decision comes early, because the timing of your decision is based on the strength of your overall academic profile, not when you submitted the application and supporting materials. Okay. So for students who may transfer to us, I don't know that we have any transfer students in the group right now, but the process looks very similar. We would also just need to receive college transcripts, and then perhaps we would need to receive high school information depending on how much time has passed and the credits that are earned. So this information does also live on our website. So I won't spend too much time here because I don't think we have any transfer students with us this evening. And then kind of wrapping things up, you'll see here costs. And so for the past 2 years, Westchester has frozen tuition. So we are unsure what that tuition cost will be for the upcoming year and subsequent years, because that's a decision made year by year. But for our in-state students, it's just over $7,000 for the tuition. And when you add room and board and fees, you can see we get to a total of around $24,000. And so what we've done is we've made the assumption that you'll choose to live in that suite style housing, because if we're making that assumption as you're looking at costs, that's kind of the ceiling. So if you would choose traditional housing, then this number goes down a little bit. And then a large percentage of our students are getting financial aid in some form to offset that total cost of attendance here. So again, these numbers will change since you are going to be looking at the next academic year, but generally the prices aren't going up too terribly much. Okay. So I'm going to wrap up my official portion here, but are there any questions about things that maybe I didn't talk about that you were hoping to hear about, or things that I spoke about that just weren't quite clear this afternoon or this evening? All right, students, you're quiet group, so must have been okay and in answering all of your questions. So what I would like to do right now is turn things over to our current university ambassadors who are Westchester students. I'd like to give them the opportunity to introduce themselves and share a little bit about them and the things that they're involved in, but then also give you the opportunity to ask them questions as current students. So we'll spend some time talking with them and getting questions answered. So I'll turn things over to our ambassadors.
I can go first. Hi, I'm Jocelyn. I'm a sophomore. I'm a political science international relations major, and I'm also in the Honors College. So if you have any questions about those two areas, you know who to go to.
I can go next. Hi, I'm Molly. I'm a freshman, current psychology major and dance minor, although I just submitted a request to change my major and add a minor. So I'm going to be changing to a media and culture major, and I'm adding a psychology minor. Besides the ambassador program, I am also involved in the university dance company, and I've been in Spanish club for the past 2 semesters.
I'm Sam. I'm a senior, so I graduate in May, but I'm coming back for grad school. So if you have any questions about anything with that, I'm an assistant for the men's basketball team. So if you have athletics questions, you can let me know that. I am a athletic training undergrad. So I'm in the College of Health Sciences, and I'm on our board for the Athletic Training Club as well as the Sociology Honors Society.
Very good. Thank you all for sharing. So students, high school students, I will turn the floor over to you. Are there questions, what questions I should say, do you have for our current students? about anything. So their unfiltered opinion or about Westchester University.
Hello. My school is offering a program with like Delaware County Community College, but I plan on using like the dual enrollment to transfer over to Westchester.
Yes.
So how would that work?
Okay, so you're looking, just so I'm clear, you said you are doing dual enrollment with while you're in high school?
Yes.
Okay, so then those would be credits that you're able to bring to Westchester University. So you would move through the application process just as outlined here, because since you're taking those courses at Westchester and you're still enrolled in high school, we still think of you as a high school student. So you wouldn't be considered a transfer student because those classes are being taken while you're at Westchester. I'm sorry, while you're in high school. So you would still go through the application process as a first year student. Does that answer your question for you?
Yes. Thank you.
Great, yes. So I will actually ask a question of each of our current Westchester students. Could you maybe share, it might have been a while ago for you, but why you chose Westchester University? So what was it about the university? Somebody else is just asking a question too. It looks very similar. So why you chose Westchester University? And then to maybe the second part of that question, you know what, we'll do that first and then I'll come back and ask the second part of the question. So you can each just go around and share why you chose Westchester.
Yeah, I know I chose Westchester because I really enjoy the location. It's such a nice town. It's a very supportive town. You know, like it's not one of those colleges that just sits at the edge of town and doesn't want to get involved. They have an active part in the community, and the community really appreciates that. You're so close to everything, like Philadelphia. And as for academics, my program was just really strong. I really enjoyed the Honors College and the community I built there. And overall, it's a huge campus and, you know, over 16,000 people there, but it still feels small. It still feels like you can carve out a community and make friends really easy. And everyone is really accepting and happy to meet people.
Thank you.
So I chose Westchester mostly, again, like with what Jocelyn had said, because of the location. I personally live about half an hour away from campus. So when I was trying to figure out the costs of everything for school, it just made sense for me to come to Westchester. Just from like a location standpoint, it was easy for me to commute to. I had some friends from high school that are currently at Westchester, and they had nothing but great things to say about it. So that made me really excited. But also there was something else that I was going to say, and now I quite honestly forget what it was. Maybe I'll come back to it, or maybe I'll think of it later. But see, I think the main thing for me was the location, but also now I remembered it. Westchester, like we went through, has so many departments and programs for you to become a part of. So even if you're not completely sure what it is that you want to major, or if you want to minor in something and you're not completely sure yet, there are so many interesting classes for you to take in your freshman year or even in your sophomore year, just to try to figure out what it is that you really want to do. And there's a lot of flexibility in getting to transfer like different colleges or different departments within Westchester. So I really liked just the academic side of things. And again, I love the location of it.
I picked Westchester because they had a 3+2 athletic training program, which is actually the #1 program in the country and the first co-ed program ever, which is pretty cool. So I chose it because of that. And then I was in a cohort, and so I got to know our professors even before actually like coming onto campus, and just like absolutely fell in love with like the way that Westchester teaches and how like student focused it is. And just the ratio, like student to teacher ratio, is so much smaller than a lot of schools are able to provide. And that just made such a difference. Plus, it's like an hour away from home, which is the perfect distance where my mom's not coming every weekend. But if I need to go home, I can go home.
That's important. And then the second part of the question, if each of you wouldn't mind sharing, what has it been like over the past year, year and a half, during the pandemic, as things have just shifted from what you knew? So if each of you could maybe share how that's changed, and maybe something that you think has been that the university has done that's been supportive, or different during this time to kind of assist through the process.
Yeah, I personally think Westchester has been a great college to be at during the pandemic, because when it first happened and we first had to go online, they were super quick about coming out with refunds and coming out with the alternative grading policy and just being really forgiving and understanding, because it was a difficult time for everyone. And then even for the fall and spring semesters, when we've still been doing online for a while, professors are still understanding and just want everyone to be doing their best. So yeah, I've had nothing but supportive experiences.
Great, thank you.
So for me, I was really nervous coming into college and starting my college career like at home and completely virtually. But the greatest thing was, like, I think Jocelyn like touched on it, is that the staff and the faculty are so understanding and very supportive of it all. So in my first semester, I had professors that were just like checking in and just being like, hey, like just doing a quick little like check on everybody and making sure that you're all good. If you have any questions, like please reach out. And it was even just like, hey, how do I submit this thing on D2L, or how do I navigate like this certain website that we're on? And so it was very easy to reach out and get assistance and resources and anything that you needed. And I think the other great thing was we had classes that were offered. Personally, for me, I had some dance classes that were hybrid. And so with that, we just signed like a waiver, just recognizing like the protocols and the policies that the university has for the pandemic. And at least for my dance classes, it was, if you even wanted to come to campus like one day out of the entire semester, you could totally do that and then do everything else on Zoom. So again, like everyone was very understanding, and it was very just flexible with trying to navigate everything virtually.
I definitely was. It's a little different. I missed my like whole senior year, so I won't lie. It's been a little bit hard. I had friends who already graduated, so people who I like probably won't see again. So it's definitely been a little bit bittersweet, but I've been back on campus this semester. Basketball is practicing. We are doing temperature checks and all that kind of stuff, and doing surveys every 12 hours. So definitely has been nice to be back to some sense of normal. But one thing that Westchester did that was really, really amazing was I had like someone in my family pass away with COVID and with all that stuff. And the Office of Student Affairs is incredible and sent emails out on my behalf so that I could have a little bit more time to take finals and things like that. So just the fact that, the Office of Student Affairs is so good. And even Dr. Davenport was in contact with me like one-on-one. So the school like doesn't just say that they care, they actually do.
And I think it's so important to hear from you all as current students, because, for a lot of our high school students, they see myself and my colleagues, I would say on the road, but we've been behind the screen for the past year, but, so to speak, on the road and in high schools and when we're visiting, and yet we have one perspective. And so we can share knowledge about things, but you all are also coming from a place of having experienced it. So your knowledge is experiential. And so I think that's important, that the things that you have experienced are supporting the things that we're sharing with students when we visit. And so I think that's really amazing that, it lines up. It's not that we're saying one thing and then you're saying something completely different. So I think that's really a testament to Westchester and the strength and just the support, and that we really are who we say we are. And so that's really nice. And so the last question I guess I will ask of each of you would be, what advice would you give your younger self? Your high school self. Is there anything that you think self now should have told self from a while ago? Oh, Sam looks like there's for sure something. Why don't you start, Sam?
Yeah, I'll start this one. My college experience has not been your traditional pick a major, go for it, get done. I switched majors, kind of. I undeclared from the 3-year, picked up 4 years, got a minor, dropped a minor. And I really beat myself up for not doing everything that I had set my mind on doing when I was 17. So I would definitely go back and give myself a lot more grace, because at this age, there's a lot of stuff going on in your life. And, you're at that age where just things are happening that probably didn't happen to you before. So I definitely would have just given myself a break. And on like an academic level, I would have paid more attention to how I study well and what I need to do, because I don't think I really understood that until I got to that first test that I didn't do well on. And then it was this like panic of like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to study. So just really like being in tune with how you study and what you need for yourself, and not being afraid of saying like, hey, this is what I need, or like, hey, I need space from my roommate right now. Like basic things like that. Just know that like, give yourself grace and give yourself space, and just allow yourself to, stand up for yourself and know what you need.
Yeah, I think that's great. Often when we're heading off to college, we have these set things that I remember telling myself I was going to score a specific number on my SATs. And then when I got them back, I thought, well, what I was thinking was not very attainable in the moment, because I thought, oh, this will be easy. So I think that's really important, what you said. And there are a lot of us, myself included, who had a similar experience when I started out in college, because, things happen and it's hard, and knowing how to study in high school sometimes looks different in college. So thank you for sharing that, Sam.
I can go next if we're going full reverse here. So I think the biggest thing that I would tell myself, especially since most of the students here are mostly juniors, I remember going into my junior and senior year, I was terrified because like I was surrounded by kids who like knew exactly which college that they were going to go to. They knew exactly what they were going to study. They had their applications in like months in advance. And I was sitting here and I was like, well, I have things I like, but I don't know what I want to do. And I feel like my application journey was very, very unorthodox. I decided that I wanted to go to school and I wanted to do something in dance, because that was something that I've done since I was a kid. And I've really just enjoyed learning about the art form itself. So I was like, okay, I want to do something in dance, but I have no idea where I want to go. So I ended up applying to 13 different schools. And I took, I think it was around like 5 or 6 auditions at different schools. And then I actually had an injury, and then the pandemic hit. So then I was doing virtual auditions, and it was a whole process. And throughout the whole time, I was kind of like what Sam had touched on, kind of like beating myself up for like not doing these things earlier, and not like giving myself enough time to really think about what I wanted to do. But now I kind of realize like, well, that's okay, because now I'm still trying to figure out what it is that I want to do. And like right now I'm changing my major, and I'm completely changing like my academic plan, because you come to college and you find different things that really truly interest you. And you have staff and other students around you that really support those endeavors that you want to do. So I definitely think like what I would tell myself is like, don't compare yourself to your classmates, because you're all doing your own things. And so no one's journeys are going to be exactly the same. And kind of, again, like what Sam had said, like be grateful to yourself, or graceful with yourself, and just recognize that everyone's on their own journeys. You're going to get to where you need to be, and it'll be fun. Just enjoy it.
Yeah, thank you, Molly. I think that last part at the end is important too. Have fun and enjoy it, because sometimes it goes really quickly. You think another 4 years or 5 years, Sam, or however many if you're doing, further schooling, but it moves, when you're in it. So yes, enjoy it, have fun. Thank you. And so Jocelyn, you're wrapping up the sharing.
Yes, I definitely, echo the sentiments that were said before. If I had two pieces of advice, don't don't underestimate comfort when applying to colleges. Like, if you can, tour them in person and see what makes you feel comfortable. Like, can you picture yourself on that campus? Do you get good vibes from the people on that campus? And then the second piece of advice would, well, everyone in this group has a sibling that goes to Westchester, so it might not apply, but there is that state school stigma kind of still. And I know I almost had that when applying to colleges and then applied to Westchester last because I was like, well, you never know what could happen. But honestly, state schools don't deserve it. They're better sometimes than private schools. And, just the college landscape that we live in now. And, I wouldn't trade Westchester for anything. So definitely apply.
Yeah, Jocelyn, thank you. I think that's important too. That's a piece of advice I often give our students, to get on campus. And one of the reasons I chose the school that I did, which unfortunately wasn't Westchester, right? But was because it felt right. And for some students, you might not be able to say what it is, but it just feels like home. You feel comfortable. You feel, I got the sense when I visited my school, I felt like I missed a memo. Like I felt like everyone knew I was coming and I didn't know who they were because it just seemed like everybody was just friendly and they were talking to me. And I thought, like, was I like this? They all know me? Did I miss something? And so that just made me feel like this is where I belong. And so, yes, I think you've all three given some really good advice. And so I want to thank our Westchester students for the time and the information and things that you've shared this evening. I want to thank our juniors for attending, and I hope that you've taken away something from our current students, maybe from the presentation that I've given. And I would just say, please do not hesitate to reach out to our office. I'm going to put my email in the chat. And if you want to connect with any of these students, I can put you in touch with them, or if they're comfortable sharing, they can share information. But again, thank you to everyone for coming and utilize us as a resource through this process. We're here to help you, and good luck to Sam as you graduate, and Jocelyn and Molly, you'll be here for a while. So we're glad to have you with us. So thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.